process of analyzing and then ultimately hiring an apprentice?
Okay, well ultimately they normally contact us once they've made a decision that they're ready to hire an apprentice. So we then have a pool of candidates that we would try and match with that employer that have indicated to us that this is the apprenticeable trade that they want to enter into. So we try and create that job match. It's not a placement agency, so we don't say you have to hire this individual. It's the same hiring process that they would go through if they were hiring somebody without an agency. So we try to send a couple of candidates for them to interview. Something that I strongly believe in is setting up a job test, because from a resume and a 2-minute conversation, it's really difficult.
It's always hard to know.
So I always say to the employer, just try them out for a week, and it's a good tactic on that, because then they get to know that person and they get over the nerves. And so we set up a job test where they're reimbursed for the wages during that time. So that, again, it's that there's no, yes, you pay them out and then we reimburse for that first week. So it's a good way to set up whether, I mean, you have to know if you can work with this individual. So that's one thing, is assisting with matching an apprentice with an employer. We can take care, we have a relationship with the apprenticeship branch. I know the local area representative, so we would send them an email and set up that appointment, so the employer doesn't need to track them down or figure out who they need to speak with, and set up and make that meeting happen so the registration can take place. It's really a 15-minute to half an hour appointment. It's not a huge time commitment. And then we provide follow-up services, so we can work with the individual and the employer to help make things run smoothly, set up the wage subsidy if necessary.
The 6-month bonus, right, if they're still working after 6 months?
Yes, set up because once that transition's taken place where they actually sign, that is the Employment Ontario office responsibility then to generate that payment to the employer and the wage subsidy. So, and the documents that come with the wage subsidy, it's quite minimal considering the return that you're going to get. Again, it's signatures going over, and I always say to my employers, meet them for the first time, you know, the first time we'll go through it, and the next time you'll be calling me and saying, where do I sign, where do I sign? We really make it quite easy for an employer to get on board with that. And we can also help that, you know, if you've invested 6 months and we try to build that relationship with the employer, and something goes wrong, we try not to just let that fizzle out and let that time be wasted. We work with the employee and the employer to try and, you know, come up with a plan of action, and get the mentoring and the coaching back online for, you know, for that to work out. So we're there for, we have employers call us for a lot of different reasons, whether it's, you know, consulting on whether they should give them a pay increase, and is it best, do I recommend that they go for the day release training versus the 8 weeks training? So we build that relationship from day one, and we can, if we don't know the answer, we'll find out, and we'll help them through that.
And it's always nice to get it from an official government organization as well. So that's great. And on the accounting and finance side, the tax side as well, you know, I think that the key for employers is to, well, first of all, to recognize if anybody has apprentices in your business, then and you're not claiming an apprenticeship tax credit, it's just so important to bring that to your accountant's attention, or to seek out qualified advice to ensure that you've got an accountant that can understand how to file it and what's necessary. I've seen this, the government, the Canada Revenue Agency is the body that oversees the reviews and the assessments of these credits, and it's important to understand how to work with them and what they're going to be looking for when you actually file. And so any good accountant that is familiar with and trained in corporate tax should be able to handle that for their clients. So it's important to seek that proper advice and make sure that you've got the proper documentation.
Okay, I've definitely seen an increase in that in the last few years, since these tax credits have become a lot more popular. And I have the accountant companies calling us wanting a copy of that training agreement. So now when I'm setting that up with an employer, I say, make sure you keep a copy. This is what your accountant's going to need in order to collect that money.
Absolutely.